Welcome to Dead Man Talking. Tonight's story is the return of the fantastic girl from the crypt. As ever, please do let us know what you thought down below in the comments box. Please do like and share. It really does help build the channel and our community further. And of course, don't forget to hashtag TeamFEAR. And so, with that aside, let's get into tonight's story, entitled I live on a farm out in the sticks. Something weird is happening to my brothers. Let's get straight into that. Just admit it. You don't know where we are. I know exactly where we are, sis. Now let me focus, okay? Focus on what? Getting us deeper into the behind last panhandle of the woods? Or whatever this place is. Can you just shut up, please? My brother growled. I'm trying to figure this out. Just give me a second. I've given you 2 hours, I argued. It's been 2 entire hours since we passed the last traffic sign. Just admit that we're lost. Now, if you just hand over the map. Phoebe, I mean it. Shut up and let me handle this. My brother snapped back, but then, in a softer tone, added, I'm sorry, sugar. I'm just a little tense right now, but I promise I'll figure this out on my own. I grunted, sat back into the car seat of our brand new convertible pickup truck, courtesy of my mother's guilty conscience, and crossed my arms. I was huffing a bit. We had been driving around for hours now, and even though we had left the woods our farm was home to, the lightly forested area we were now roaming struck me as similarly confusing. As I moved and slightly kicked my feet to relieve my tiring legs, I came into contact with the soft side of our family dog, Waffle, who had been lying quietly in the space under my seat. Whoops, sorry, I uttered as he stuck out his head from the depths of his cramped little room and shot me an insulted look. It's okay, he grumbled and, turning to my brother, added, Hey man, she's right. What was that? Apparently, the cryptid's voice had torn my big brother out of a pensive trance. Benjamin, we're lost, the dog repeated, and I nodded eagerly. So lost, I concurred, adding a bit more emphasis. Maybe I should have prefaced all of this by explaining that this conversation was taking place on our way back from the city. We were out to buy cough syrup and some fever medicine for my baby brother, who had been left at home under the care of his dad. Now, I wasn't aware that hybrids could get flu, but guess what? They can. And with the meds we needed, we got on our way back home and, well, got lost, thanks to Ben's incredible orientation skills. How did we even end up here? We did not pass any forests except our own on the way to town, I asked. The hound yawned. No worries, let's just, I don't know, stop for a second. Have a small walk. I feel like I'm starting to morph with the truck, he suggested. Screw it. Ben looked around. I'll drive over the next chance I get. Ben was about to pull over when suddenly something came slithering across the road, seemingly out of nothing. I gasped as my brother hit the brakes and the car came to a screeching halt. What the hell was that? I gasped when I caught my breath again, my arm still wrapped around Waffle's neck. The dog had pressed himself against me to keep me from flying off of my seat. Ben, who was panting from shock, leaned back in his seat. Yeah, I got no idea. He squinted. Looks like a dead deer or something. Hey, Waffle, go check it out, alright? Gotcha, the hound replied and jumped over the car door. In a few leaps, he'd reached the large object and bent down his head to sniff. Shouldn't we get out as well? I asked nervously. Benjamin shook his head. We better stay seated. I got a bad feeling about this, sis. Something ain't right. Instinctively, I reached for his hand and gave it a reassuring squeeze. I looked around. The forest really didn't give off an inviting vibe. The trees stood tall and large against the gloomy, ashen afternoon sky, and the fog rising up above the grey asphalt road added a sense of clammy numbness to it all. The damp and cold breeze hitting my only halfway covered arms made me shiver, and I regretted not having taken a jacket. What's taking him so long? Ben murmured, his fingers anxiously clutching the steering wheel. He was right. Waffle was still sniffing the supposed dead deer carcass. Leaning over to Benjamin, I pressed the side of my head against his chubby arm. "Ben, I don't like it here," I whispered. "Me neither, Phoebes," he said softly, but the strain in his voice was audible. "Don't worry, okay? I'm sure it's nothing." The second these words had left his mouth, Waffle turned around and came bounding back towards the car. In one leap, he jumped over the hood and landed in the bed of the truck behind us. Ben and I spun around to face him. He looked terrified. His ears were lowered and his lips curled into a frown. His fangs were showing. "What's wrong?" I stammered hurriedly.
"Look, I don't know. It's a deer, all right, but there's something off about it. Smells weird. It's more pretty bad, like half-eaten."
"What should we do?" Ben asked.
"Drive," Waffle replied curtly. "Just turn around. We better make a break for it. I don't know what's attacked it, but I don't want to find out."
"Okay," Ben muttered, sounding awfully unnerved, and under his breath repeated himself once again, as if to soothe his mind. "Okay." The car engine sprung back to life with a roar, and Ben made a sharp turn, navigating the vehicle into the direction from where we had come from. Luckily, there was no one else on the road except for us, making it easier to maneuver. However, my brother was forced to stop the car abruptly once again after what could have been barely a mile. The road just ended. It lost itself in an unpaved path overgrown with weeds and grass, as if the woods had swallowed it. Guys, I'm pretty sure it wasn't like that before," I remarked, my voice trembling ever so slightly. Benjamin nodded, a concerned frown on his face. Waffle let out a low growl and hopped from the back of the trunk over to me, scrambling back underneath my seat to where he had been laying previously. I watched my big brother bite his lower lip and wipe his strand of hair out of his forehead before putting the car into reverse. We drove back down the forest road. The tension was palpable by now. I was absent-mindedly scratching Waffle between the ears. "It's not here anymore," I muttered as we passed the section of road where the carcass had been lying. Now there was just a dark, wet spot left of it. "Damn it, you're right," Benjamin growled and slammed his hand onto the steering wheel. "We have to move on," I said curtly as my brother nodded. We sped past the damp spot and further down the road. I always consider myself lucky not to have encountered too many cryptids able to mess with people's minds before. Granted, that was even the case this time. I mean, the road just ended like that all of a sudden. Maybe this whole area was off, controlled by some bizarre, unseen force able to warp it and change its shape. There are multiple kinds of strangeness, and this weird reality-bending thing is one that creeps me out the most. I squinted when I noticed something coming up ahead of us. It was the silhouettes of 3 people. Ben noticed it at the same time as I did, and almost instantly stopped the car. "What is it? Keep driving," I whimpered, clutching my dog's large ear in my fist, and Waffle let out a small yelp of pain, and I immediately let go, apologetically patting his slimy pancake skin. "Wait, there. Holy crap. Phoebes, they're wearing like robes or something. God, what is this place?" Ben sighed. "You know what? I'ma go and have them stop whatever they're doing over there. It's driving me nuts. I ain't letting anyone mess with me like that." "Ben, no! Have you gone crazy or something?" Waffle protested, but I just shook my head. It was futile trying to convince my brother now. He had gone southern again. "Be careful," I murmured. "Aw, you're worried. That's sweet." He cooed and reached out to ruffle my hair. "I'll be fine." And with that, he got up and swung himself out of the car, slamming the door behind him. I found myself doubting his statement. I watched as he disappeared into the thickening fog, nearing in on the 3 figures, and soon I could barely see him clearly anymore. Waffle reached up to nudge my side with his snout, and I flinched and looked down. The hound nodded towards the part of the road laying behind us, eyes wide and frightened. I slowly turned my head and felt a lump form in my throat. There was no road behind us anymore. It just ended right there. Just like before. It looked like the woods had swallowed it. There was merely an unpaved path of greenery, and behind that nothing but trees and bushes. I snapped back around to only see a tall, large frame of my brother emerge from the fog. He was jogging towards us at a light pace, but he didn't seem to be running from anything. At least that was a relief. He wasted no time to get in the car and started the engine.
Oh, okay, so they don't feel like answering any of my questions, because apparently today their little clique just stands around creepily in the middle of the road, ignoring everyone, which pisses me off a little.
Ben explained in a tone I can only describe as a highly passive-aggressive. Ben, have you seen that the road, I began, but he interrupted me.
Has suddenly vanished. I know. Look, my bet is that this is some cult's domain. Some kind of devil worshippers or magicians or occultists. No matter. They're probably pretty crazy, and they're somehow messing with the way things work around here. That's the only thing that makes sense. I mean, roads do not disappear just like that.
So, what are we going to do?
Easy. We're going to speed the hell out of here and hope that the road we're on actually leads somewhere. And maybe that these dimwits are still standing there because, well, I'm in the mood for some truck bowling.
My brother replied, an angry smirk on his face. We were heading towards the three figures, the pickup convertible steadily accelerating. I don't like this. Stop, stop for Christ's sake, I cried out, wrapping my arms around Waffle's long neck.
Why though?
Benjamin let out a roaring laugh. His eyes were twinkling with genuine glee. I clutched the dog's neck even tighter. The three people were now a lot closer, and we still weren't slowing down. Ben, you're going to run them over, I screamed.
I know!
He knew. Of course he knew. Ben, these aren't monsters. They are humans. You can't just run over a person, I yelled back at him.
Lady, your priorities frighten me,
Waffle remarked, but his voice sounded just as terrified as mine. My mind was racing. This was nothing like my brother at all.
Stop right now! You're gonna get us all killed!
Waffle howled, but Ben ignored him just like he had with me before. We were now practically racing towards the three hooded people, and surprisingly, they didn't show any signs of wanting to give way. I closed my eyes and clung on to both my dog and the seatbelt, and suddenly the car came to a screeching halt. Hesitantly, I opened my eyes again. A fourth figure had stepped out in front of the others, a taller, darker one. It was wearing something on its head. As it slowly moved towards us, becoming more and more visible, I recognized said thing to be two large, almost serpentine horns. Its thin, weedy frame seemed familiar, and so did the long arms ending in sharp talons. I leaned forward, and the figure continued approaching. Deeply black fur, darker than the night itself. Eyes glowing like fireflies, a white spot on his forehead. Doubt had left me, and I stood up in my seat and cried out his name. Lo? His head jerked to the side and he dropped his slow, menacing pace and sprinted over to me. I got out of the car. I wasn't sure if I was actually happy to see him, but I guess I was just glad Ben had stopped driving. Standing in front of him on the road, I realized how much he had grown. His horns had gotten way larger too, and I grinned awkwardly and tucked a strand of hair behind my ear as I looked up to him. You've changed, I remarked.
Yeah, I know, he replied casually. Ever since you broke up with me, I've grown a lot more mature too, so I'm a whole new man, basically.
I refrained on commenting on the part implying we had actually been in some sort of relationship. In a way, I was a little glad to see him. See, if you had to choose between your suddenly creepy brother trying to murder you and a delusional but non-threatening cryptid, I doubt you wouldn't go for the latter. I just kinda didn't want to be alone with Ben and Waffle anymore. My brother, who had gotten out as well and was now leaning against the hood of his truck, chimed in. Ben, what the hell was that just now? I hissed. Stop being such a scaredy cat. I was just having a bit of fun. Fun? You could have killed us. Turning to Lo, I asked. By the way, are the three amigos over there with you or...
Yup,
Lo nodded proudly.
See, when Franco told me to leave the woods, I thought I'd go back for a different place to stay. I wandered around for a little while until I reached these woods. I bumped into a bunch of folks doing some strange ritual in here, and, long story short, they think I'm a demon of sorts and that they summoned me. Admittedly, I'm just messing with them. but it's pretty great. They bring me food and stuff all the time. They even built me a shelter. All I have to do is pretend like some creepy big shot from hell. These guys are desperate. They'll believe anything I tell them.
Good for you, but what if they find out? I inquired.
Lowe shrugged. They won't. They're pretty stupid, easy to deceive. I've gotten up to worse kinds of mischief. Even if they figure it out somehow, I can take a beating. After a short pause, he added, Really nice of you to worry about me, though.
I wasn't worried. More like curious, I replied.
I see,
Waffle commented from somewhere to my left. Ben cleared his throat and I spun around. I'm sorry, is this bothering you? I snarled and watched as my brother took a small step back. Oh, but you are right. We should really focus on the important things here, I continued. For example, what the hell is wrong with you? Why have you been so weird lately? I'm at a loss here, brother. Help me out. The smug look on Ben's face had dropped. He suddenly felt like himself again. He stared at his hands sheepishly. I don't know, he said quietly. I don't know what came over me. I just suddenly felt angry. Really angry.
Dude, you don't look so well,
Lowe suddenly commented. Ben perked up and took a step towards us, and then tumbled to the ground. I quickly knelt down next to him and, with some difficulty, turned him onto his back. I hadn't noticed during our talk, but he had gone extremely pale. He was still conscious. He groaned as he tried to push himself off the dirt road. Stay down, I ordered, placing my hand on his chest. What happened?
I just got so dizzy all of a sudden.
Benjamin coughed dryly as he reached up to feel his forehead. You're burning up, I muttered. My mind wandered off to my little brother. He had been glowing this morning. Was it possible that Ben had gotten a fever from him? Waffle had quick-wittedly brought me the medicine we had bought in the city, and I had Ben take some against his fever in hopes it might help quickly enough. Afterwards, I helped him get back into the car, where we waited a little while, and my brother had a short nap, during which Lowe talked to the small group of worshippers. I spent our little break enduring a very awkward conversation with the young goatman. He explained that the rituals his cult were practicing were what was messing with the road. Concerningly, he was not able to explain the deer carcass, but assumed it was just another byproduct of his worshippers' magic.
They'll lay off it for now, though, since I told them to, he bragged. So unless your behemoth of a brother starts driving recklessly again, you should get home safely.
Yeah, thanks, I muttered, but admittedly I wasn't really listening. Instead, my mind kept wandering off to my brother's sudden fever and the strange behaviour he'd been displaying, and somehow I had a bad feeling about it all. Like we were going to be facing another set of problems, a whole new set of obstacles. And to be honest, I hate that idea. I don't want everything to go haywire again. I'm just so tired of it all. When will enough be enough? When Ben woke up, he seemed a lot better. He was in high spirits and seemed a lot more good-natured than before, and he even politely said his goodbyes to Lowe. Waffle was quite obviously relieved, but the nagging feeling in the pit of my stomach remained. It didn't leave, even as I listened to the dog satirically impersonating Lowe on our way home. I chuckled a few times while Ben was losing himself in a fit of laughter next to me, but I just couldn't really enjoy myself. When we got home, Franco greeted us with a crying Jerry in his arms. The poor guy looked well tired as he handed my older brother the screaming infant. Ben gloated a little over his exhaustion, spouting some unnecessary comment about fatherhood being hard or something, but benevolently inviting Franco to get a bit of rest on our sofa. Later, when we had seen to my little brother, I dared to tell Franco about my concerns. He listened attentively as I informed him about our encounter with his nephew. He laughed a bit when I mentioned the cult thing and perked up when I described Ben's sudden mood swing, followed by his unexpected fall. You know, it is weird. Fever, mood swings, sudden loss of control over your body. I've heard that before. but I can't for the life of me remember in what context, he thought aloud. You think I should call Mum over? She might know something. And if not, she could still help take care of Jerry. I proposed. Franco nodded eagerly. Yes, do call Blanche. I'm sure she can help. I smirked. Yeah, I thought you'd agree with me on that. I take it you mysteriously feel the need to stay with us a while she's around? If you don't mind too much, Franco replied, shrugging casually. I told him it was fine and went to make the phone call. My mother's melodic voice instantly calmed me down. I don't know how she does that, but it's just her way of working her magic, I guess. Or maybe it's the positive memories of her singing or reading to me as a toddler. Welcome to White Lily Owlworks, a place to get roaring drunk amongst friendly faces. You're speaking with Susanna Blanche Johnson. What can I help you with? Mum, it's me, I said, smiling to myself. Oh, honey. Well, that is a surprise. I'm sorry. We've got this new store phone and I still have to get used to it, so I didn't see the number. Why are you calling? Is everything all right? My mum's voice had immediately grown insecure, understandably. I usually never called her at work. Not exactly. Like, nothing's wrong, but I just... So Jerry has a fever, but I told you about that already. Well, now Ben has this weird dizzy spell earlier, and everything's just really weird and... Do you want me to come home? Mum interrupted me in a gentle voice. Yes, please, I muttered. Okay then, sweetie. I'll be home as soon as Carol's back to work, and that's in 2 days. I heard her mutter to herself on the other end as she was thinking out loud. Yep, I'll be home the day after tomorrow. I'll try to get off as soon as possible, so expect me in the early morning hours. Is that all right, hon? Yeah, sounds good, I replied. Okay, awesome. I love you. She cooed and was about to hang up when I suddenly, without thinking, uttered once again, Mum? Yes? A short pause followed. I didn't know why I had said Mum. I just felt like it somehow. As weird as that may sound. Nothing, I murmured, but Susanna Blanche understood. It'll be all right, she said softly. Don't worry. Just one more day and I'll be home and then we'll take care of everything. Okay? Okay, I replied, breathing a sigh of relief as I hung up. Mum. A nice word. I like the sound of it. Wow. Another great start to, I'm sure, another part of this fantastic series by Girl from the Crypt. Please, as ever, do take time to head over to her Reddit. I'll leave a link to that in the description box below, of course. Please do hit the upvote button, possibly leave a comment. It really does go a long way for helping her build her profile and a presence on Reddit and that communities. As ever, also, please do let us know what you thought down below in the comments box. Please do like and share. It really does help build the channel and our community further. And of course, don't forget to hashtag TeamFEAR. I hope you've all had a wonderful start to the week. And above all, remember, be safe, not sorry.